Welcome to the Restless Creatives podcast. Comfortable chats with inspirational creatives. Hosted by three self-confessed restless creatives, Lucy Hunter, Fiona Pickles and Bridget Girling. This week we chat with wonderful porcelain tableware designer Sue Pryke. Sue's beautifully tacked-our range is proudly made in England, but she also designs for other huge household names. You probably have a mug designed by her in your kitchen cupboard. Furthermore, she's moved into the fascinating world of TV and was recently a judge on the Great Pottery Throw Down. And if you've ever wondered how real the tension is in these TV shows, Sue gives us a little glimpse behind the scenes.
There we go.
Oh,
there she is.
Look, she's looking glam as ever.
How are you, ladies?
Really good. How are you?
All right, thank you. Yeah, I've got a bit of an echo going on.
Oh, have you?
Hang on. There we go.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Just getting used to them.
Sue,
How are you?
This is Lucy. I don't know if you've met Lucy before.
Hello, Lucy. Hi. Just changed the screen. Hiya. Oh, hiya. Yeah, there you are. Nice to meet you, Lucy.
And you.
And obviously you know us too.
Hi, Fiona.
We do know us
Yes.
too, yes.
Yes, I know you too. Yes. Highly creative bunch, aren't you?
Well, same.
Yeah, exactly.
We're restless.
Restless.
Yeah.
So how's things with you? You look very, very well.
Oh, not so bad. Really busy actually. So I think with lockdown came an increase with online orders. So it's just got busier and busier, which is great because I did manage to sort of have some downtime without having to charge around manically trying to pack orders. But yeah, it's been quite a good year all in all, really. Well, work-wise. So yes, lots to keep me occupied.
That's good.
It's really good. That's what we like to hear. Because I think it's quite difficult, isn't it? Some people feel like they can't really say they've had a good time in lockdown. But actually, I think it's a lot of people have. Aside from all of the sadness and difficulties and nobody wanted this to happen, but there are some good things that have happened. So I think it's great. Your business is booming as a result. It's wonderful.
I think, a lot of positivity. I mean, we've all had to work in a slightly different way. The usual craft fairs and trade fairs that we would have done. I mean, I think I'd booked up 4 for last year. Obviously, they had to all be cancelled. One of them was in March last year, so that was cancelled like the week before. A great loss to everybody. So the organisers lost out. We lost out because we had to pay money up front, which couldn't be recouped. So so I think it was challenging in lots of ways with business, apart from the obvious sadness of the whole thing, but also we've just learnt to sort of work in a different way, haven't we? Sort of, I don't know how florists have fared, but with selling homeware, people can order directly online. So that we've just switched to just doing things in a different way.
I suppose we haven't actually properly introduced you yet, have we? People are going to be thinking, what does Sue
do?
Everybody knows what Sue does.
Yes, they do. They should do. Perhaps you should give us a little synopsis of who you are and what you do, Sue.
Okay, so I suppose many people would call me a potter. Actually, I never call myself a potter, but I make pots. But I don't make them in a traditional sense of sitting at the wheel and throwing. I work in a very it's sort of an industrial way of making ceramics, which is called slip casting. So I work with sort of a range of moulds, and I pour liquid clay basically into moulds and make tableware pieces. So I work with a coloured porcelain body, which I colour myself. So we use 2 or 3 different colours at a time, and the objects have a very tactile feel because I don't glaze the outside, I polish them. They'll have a glaze on the inside to make them very functional. So yes, so functional tableware, that's me. And I also do some design work for industry as well. So I've had a long-term relationship with some companies like IKEA, for instance, who I've worked with since 94 or something like that. So I design tableware pieces for them, ceramics, glassware as well as plastics and kettles, all sorts of things I've done with IKEA. So I design homewares and mainly tableware, but for other companies as well. Yeah.
You started
So that's
Wedgewood, didn't you?
Yes. So I went through a craft degree. I mean, I did. I started off with sort of A-level pottery. That's the first time I sort of touched clay. So way back in mid 1980s, I guess, and then progressed through degree courses. And when I left as a young graduate, I went to work at Wedgewood. Yeah. So I had about a year there, which was amazing because Wedgewood, if you don't know ceramics, I mean, it is an international company. It is in the heart of the potteries here in Stoke-on-Trent, and it's sort of Josiah Wedgewood, was a pioneer in terms of ceramic production. He was one of them that sort of brought pure whiteware to the British table, well, international tables. He was the one that sort of designed and developed the jasper, the blue body, and a pioneer behind bone china. So a great place to start a career in ceramics. So that was my introduction to sort of industrial tableware manufacture and designing. So yeah, very lucky to have ended up there. Started there at the beginning of my career.
So how did you get that job? Sorry, Lucy.
Well, so a few things. So I entered a Royal Society of Art, so an RSA Student Design Award, which all the students used to do back in the day. That was all part of our courses to enter these competitions, and it was to design a range of party tableware. Anyway, I ended up winning the competition, and so part of the prize was a 10-week work placement at Wedgewood. So I went along there after graduating and did my 10 weeks, and then they took me on full time. So I had a glorious year there as a junior tableware designer. And back then, things were very different because, it was all analog. We designed things by hand and drew things by hand and made things by hand. There wasn't any computers in the building. I think actually they did have one computer in the engineering department then, which was helping to make moulds or the tooling pieces. But everything was drawn by hand, and you'd get a project from your tableware manager, and you'd go and you draw it. You show him a piece of paper, and you'd say, "That's great." Go up to the model making department, go and make it. So I had great fun working with the model makers. Then there was probably about 20 working at Wedgewood at the time. There's probably one nowadays. So they sort of show you how things are made in plaster. So you turn it on a lathe or a whirler, which is a bit like a potter's wheel, but in solid plaster. And then you'd have to make a mould of it and then start to slip cast. But anyway, in terms of design, you'd make this initial model using traditional hand skills, and then you take it back down to the design department and show your manager, and he'd say, "It's great, but you need to just take a millimetre off here and a millimetre off there." So I could go back up to the model making department, and that's how things continued. So, that was my introduction, not just to industrial ceramics design, but also how to make things in plaster and those model making skills. So I absolutely loved it. So the reason I stayed a year was because I had the opportunity to go on and do a master's degree. So I left and went to the Royal College of Art in London to continue studying for another couple of years. So, but yeah, great introduction to the world of ceramics.
Yeah. Is that how they did originally?
Loved it.
Make these moulds? Is that how they would have done back in sort of, the 1700s to make these plaster? Yeah. Exactly the same idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure.
And stuff.
Yeah, I don't think things have changed very much. And
that's really nice.
I mean, now it's very different now in that you can, certain things can be digitally printed. So you can, you can draw it obviously on Illustrator or SolidWorks or any 3D computer program, and, send it to a machine to print it for you. That happens increasingly now. But if you go to Stoke-on-Trent, there are still a lot of model makers that work by hand. The majority of work is still done by hand, and it's an endangered craft now.
Yeah.
It's we are in danger of losing those skills because there just aren't the factories employing the model makers anymore. So So it's that's really problematic. So I'm always in Stoke-on-Trent talking to mould makers, finding out what I can and passing on the skills to the people that work with me and the students that I teach, because it's really important that we maintain that level of understanding of those skills. So yeah.
So how much teaching do you do then, Sue?
Not very much. I mean, I used to, years ago, I ran the crafts course at De Montfort. I ran that for 10 years. Two of us ran it for 10 years. But nowadays, I think over the last year, I've probably taught about 5 or 6 days at Central St Martin's and at De Montfort here in Leicester. So very little now. But I like to keep my hand in if I can. Yeah, it's great sort of talking to young students and encouraging them and hoping to inspire them into, joining me in the world of craft and ceramics, or even industry. So it's fabulous teaching and passing on knowledge, isn't it?
Oh yes.
And how many people do you have working with you?
There's about 4, so everybody's part-time. They've all got other jobs that they do. One, Amelia, she's the one that mainly does a lot of the casting, but she's a jeweler on the side, so she's exactly, really creative. She's got her own business. So so there's about 4 of us, but again, all doing different jobs. I mean, Karen, she's just starting or halfway through her course to go into psychology and psychoanalysis. So she's also got a craft practice, but she's going off into another direction now. So we all do different things, but it's I need those extra sets of hands in the workshop so that we can churn some larger orders out, because there's a few restaurants that are ordering at the minute. So that's one reason why we're really busy, because the restaurants are trying to get new tableware in for May when they can open. So it's all a last minute flap at the moment, sort of orders coming in. Can you possibly do this for me, please? I need it in the next couple of weeks. It's like,
I need it tomorrow.
I'll try.
So just what you need is speaking on a Zoom meeting, really.
Yes. No, that's all right. I can leave them to get on in the workshop, you see. So perfect.
Delegate.
Yeah, perfect.
So with these orders for the restaurants and things, would they be sort of bespoke orders, or do they order what you're already doing? How does that work?
So 1 or 2 of them are just having exactly what we have off shelf, so nothing different. Another restaurant, they are ordering a couple of extra colours, which is special just to them, which is fine. And the other one, which is quite a large order, they've ordered new pieces, so they'll pay for all the tooling for that. So that's a new and exciting one. It's in Mayfair. So, but actually, I'm not making those pieces. They're being made in Stoke-on-Trent, so in a bone china factory. So that's great. But it's my moulds essentially for the majority of the pieces, and then there's a handful of new pieces which they've sort of designed with me, and we'll get the tooling set up for them. So a variety of things going on, which is great. But it's lovely to work with factories in Stoke-on-Trent. Well, anywhere actually, but having pieces made in bone china, it's just lovely. It's such a beautifully white, pure material. It's so nice to work with. So and so much skill in the factories. So it's great to sort of go and find out what I can pick up every time I visit. New tips and techniques.
So can you sort of give us a sort of précis of how your process starts from the idea in your head, the stages that you go through to producing a beautiful mug or a teapot or those beautiful spoons that you make?
Yeah. So I guess I don't even know where inspiration comes from, for sure. I think a lot of it is sort of in a vocabulary that you pick up, isn't it, along the way? I mean, I could say things like, the pared back style is perhaps from, living in Lincolnshire or growing up in Lincolnshire. I don't live there anymore. But, from that pared back landscape, the flat, beautiful plains and the massive skies, for instance. I think those kind of things are kind of with me. Or I could say that, that pared back style, for instance, I've picked up because I've worked for a Swedish company, IKEA, for decades. So but I think all of that is sort of ingrained in me, and that's sort of part of my handwriting and character, isn't it? So, so if somebody says to me, can you, like this restaurant want some new bowls, for instance, then most of the shapes are sort of gleaned from other items in the range. They're sort of add-ons, but they've probably just got a little twist to them. And I think that's generally the way that I think when I'm designing. So, for instance, the mugs, they're unglazed on the outside, and if you put a glaze onto them, they look more like a commercial everyday piece that you can pick up anywhere. So it is sort of taking an idea like a mug or even a spoon. It's like how can you give it a point of difference? How can it be sort of more individual? What's going to make it special? And it's that I strive for all the time. So
I think it's that tactile.
Yes, that's the word that's going through my head.
It's just so beautiful, and just everything you do, from the little spoons. I mean, I have my little collection of things.
It's quite a big collection.
Oh God, that's a tiny bit of it. That was quite a lot. But no, it's that matte feel. I mean, I know you don't describe it as matte, but to us it's matte and it's beautiful. And so I've got a mug, and it's just, you just want to hold it like that all the time, because it is like a beautiful egg that you want to sort of caress.
Yes,
beautiful.
It is like that, isn't it? It's like sugared almonds. It's that kind of polished.
It is exactly
matte.
like that, because the colours are the same as well, aren't they?
But it is sort of just, and actually that's more like a polished stone, a pebble quality, isn't it? Like a pebble on the beach, because we polish them. Otherwise they are a bit too matte. So we tend to sort of use diamond pads and cloths to just give them a bit of a sheen after they come out the kiln. But that point of difference, I guess that mattness and that way of making is probably something that goes right back to when I was working at Wedgewood. Wedgewood are well known for doing that blue jasper, which is the same kind of process. It's a coloured clay body, which is the same as what I'm doing at the minute. But I never sort of intentionally thought, Wedgewood matte things, I'm going to do that. It's just sort of evolved. But again, that's sort of another little twist on a on a style, or it's sort of a twist on how you can make something just slightly different. So that's kind of what I try to do, but also at the same time, making things that are functional is really important. So I mean, I know the range, my current Mr. and Mrs. range, for instance, it's it could be sort of much more efficient in that it could stack in the cupboard. That would be my next range, to make something that's perhaps a bit more functional and that it stacks. When you actually have it in the home. But that range was developed with my husband. That's why it's called Mr. and Mrs. When I came back to making probably 10 years ago, John, my husband, he'd also sort of changed the way that he was working and went in a slightly different direction, and sort of restarted again, making a lot of items out of oak. And so he made a few pieces in oak for this range with me. So again, that gives another point of difference. So my teapot, my sort of main teapot, has got a steam bent oak handle on it, and
it's beautiful.
A natural material like oak with this matte ceramics, it's just a really lovely combination. Tactile materials and just those colours that go together just so nicely. So that's that Mr. and Mrs. is sort of that's how that range sort of started.
I think that's rather lovely. How do you find it working with your husband? Does that work well?
Well, it's funny that, because people had said to us for years and years, I don't know why you two don't work together. I was like, I don't want to work with him. That would just drive me at the wall. So when we first started on this, we kind of went, why didn't we do this before? This is this great idea. So although we work in separate workshops, we do very often come together, and it's great having sort of somebody else that knows you really well to just bounce ideas off and just say, what do you think to this idea, and what do you think to that? And John's very good. He's I think he's far more creative than I am, and he'll say, have you thought about doing this? It's like, no, I haven't considered that. Oh, what a great idea. So he very often comes forward with ideas that I just wouldn't have thought of. His brain works completely differently to mine, and he's far more inventive, and he goes off in directions that I wouldn't even imagine. So
But his stuff does work really well with yours, doesn't it? Because he works with concrete, doesn't he? So, I mean, when we came to see you at Harrogate, so we came to see you at, what was the show?
The home and gift show.
Yes, the home and gift show in Harrogate. You had the whole table laid out, and there was your stuff and his stuff combined, and they all just sort of sat really well together, and it's still that sort of very tactile and beautiful shapes and really pared back, isn't it?
Yes, and he cast concrete into moulds, so we're working in a very similar way. So the surfaces of his pieces are quite highly polished. There's a sheen to them because, again, he's working with a pristine mould in the beginning. So whatever happens in the mould happens in the pieces that you cast. So working in a very similar way. And at trade fairs, we have to be very careful how we lay things up, because people get really confused, which is the concrete and which is the ceramic.
Yes. No, I can see that. I can see that.
Because it is seamless. And now John deliberately casts from some of my vases. So he's got a vase which is called Susie. I call it Edie. But he took a cast from it without me knowing. And he said, well, I'll call it after you, shall I? So it's a Susie vase. It's the same shape.
It's plagiarism.
Copyright.
I know.
Whatever the word is.
Yeah, exactly. So cheeky. So so now we deliberately make things that are the same. So he's got some large bowls, which again are sort of derived from my shapes. So so it fits really nicely together. So it works when we show together.
So this is going to be an ongoing collaboration then.
I think so. I think it works well. Well, it was our 25th wedding anniversary this week, so
congratulations!
Quite well. Yeah.
Just talking about all that makes me realise quite how much of a stalker I am, actually, because I've got some of the boards, some of the wooden boards.
You've got a clock too, haven't you?
And the clock, that concrete clock. Oh my God, we love it. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Yeah, so stalker, just buy all your stuff. In fact, I actually could just buy all your stuff.
Well, we've got a few of them here. We live with a few oak shelves and concrete clocks and chopping boards too. Yeah, it's always good to have functional things.
And we also love your vases.
We do.
Yeah, you've got a few of those as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you do with them, because I need some tips from all of you, because trying to put a few flowers in a vase, think what could be difficult about that? But I just can't do it. I mean, it's just, there is an absolute, there's a huge skill attached to making any kind of floral arrangements. It's just impossible. You put sort of a few flowers into a vase, but they don't stay where you put them. They move.
They do move, yeah.
And it's so difficult.
I would like to see us try to do a slip cast.
Yes, exactly. Let's swap roles.
Let's swap.
Maybe not.
Be very messy, I think.
Nothing but admiration for what you do. It's certainly challenging. And your work's amazing. So very, very pleased that I can give you some vases for you to put flowers into. So I just can't do I can't do them justice. So,
But you do. You put some really nice stuff in them. And it sells it to us, so we are your ideal client.
That's probably because you're thinking, I know what I can do with that vase. She clearly hasn't got a clue.
I think you're doing yourself down quite a lot there.
I need some top tips.
Yeah, and I love the ant vases. Did you say you'd resurrected those, because they went out of stock?
I brought them back for a while. Yeah, Auntie Betty and Auntie Vera.
So she's named some vases after her aunts.
So there's a in fact, I think pretty much all of the vases are named after my aunts. Okay. Yeah. So great aunts and aunts. Yeah. But there's my mum's family. A lot of the ladies were named after flowers anyway. So my mum's Veronica, but my auntie's Iris, and my grandmother, she was Olive actually, and we've got an ivy, and it's just endless. I think there's a primrose there somewhere as well.
Oh,
yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah, I don't know whether that was like an intentional, or whether no idea. But so I when I started doing vases, I did this really curvaceous vase, and I thought that looks just like my Auntie Betty. So then I thought I did one that was a bit more upright and a bit more proper. That was Auntie Vera. So
that's lovely.
they have
Got
so much character. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, the trend has continued.
It's lovely as well to just have that connection to your past as well, and it's just a lovely touch, I think.
Yeah, I guess it's another story, isn't it? And we all like stories behind things, don't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something to talk about. And yeah, you can guarantee sales with your family then as well, can't you?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, exactly. So at least 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, that's the vase collection, the aunties.
Yeah, they're fab.
Yeah.
So I suppose we should talk about your TV show that you were on a couple of years ago. Because when we met you at Harrogate, I think you were filming at the time, weren't you?
I think you were just about to start. I think you started like the week that we had our Paradise Found. I think it was that week or the week before or something. Yeah,
I think it was August we started them. So the Great Pottery Throw Down.
Yes.
So they
I love that show.
The producers were looking for a new judge because the first 2 series, Kate Malone, who's a great potter, she was the judge with Keith Bimer Jones, but she was unable to do it because I think she's got some work that she was committed to, and it kind of the timings with the filming had clashed. So yeah, they were on the hunt for another maker. So I think they just had a list of people that they'd heard about and invited me down for a screen test, which was great. I mean, I was kind of a bit daunted by the whole idea, and initially I said, "Oh, I don't want to go on the telly. What do I want to do that for?"
Yeah, but I think you're kind of made for telly, though.
Yeah, that's good. So I enjoyed it. I went for the screen test, and the filming, the whole thing was just an absolute dream. I mean, it was brilliant. Such a brilliant show to be part of because it's showcasing ceramics in a very positive light. And as we all know, you probably don't know actually, but a lot of the ceramics courses they used to have sort of dedicated specialist ceramics courses up and down the country, and there were dozens and dozens of courses, but now there's only 2 specialist ceramics courses. One's in Central St Martin's in London, and the other one's in Cardiff. All the others are combined craft courses. So the focus on ceramics isn't as intense as it used to be, and we don't have pottery in schools anymore. That there's still sort of lots at night class level, and actually lots sort of within the community sector now, and especially over the last few years, that's grown loads. Lots of local courses that you can drop into. So having something that promotes ceramics is absolutely brilliant. So it's
quite positive and nurturing, isn't it? It wasn't sort of, there wasn't a humiliation or what you think. It wasn't a nasty. It was always sort of a positive and encouraging environment, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was the intention, and the producers, very keen because they're the same company that also do Bake Off, and Sewing Bee as well. So that they've got sort of a good track record of producing sort of craft and sort of baking, obviously, to a wider audience. And so it was just brilliant to be part of it. I mean, I wasn't able to do it this time, unfortunately, and I think with COVID that it meant that they had to change some of the rules, regulations. They had to change the setting as well. They needed a bigger place to film in and reduce crew, and so everything all changed this time. So Rich, who was the kiln man and has been with the series right from the beginning, he jumped into the judge's role and has done a great job. So that will probably continue for him, I would imagine, because he's just been absolutely brilliant on the in that role. So
he was always behind the scenes, was he?
Yes, I mean, I think he had sort of a couple of TV appearances, but he was the guy that packed the kiln. There were 2 kiln fellas, and this time, they had a new kiln person because Paul, who worked with Rich in the previous seasons, he was unable to do it this time as well. So had another kiln person in Rosie.
And Rich
jumped into the judging role. So all changed, but it's still absolutely brilliant. Again. And I think the contestants, the potters this time were absolutely brilliant. High levels of skill. So it's just great, and it's just such a lovely program, isn't it? And that slot on a Sunday evening, it's just perfect.
And to see the creativity and the ideas that people come up with, and then to see people's desperation because they feel it's not quite perfect, it's not exactly what they'd envisaged, and you're looking at it thinking, but it's amazing, but they're really sad about it, and it's kind of everything that you feel as a creative, you can see there on the screen in front of your eyes, and it's it is a wonderful, wonderful show.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? So I hope, and I think they're obviously planning the next series, because at the end of the last 2 episodes, they had it come up. If you want to be part of the next one, then apply here. So I'm sure they'll get commissioned for another series, because it's just great telly, isn't it?
It is.
They do a brilliant job. So big fan of the Great Pottery Throw Down. So I'm very proud to have been part of it.
Would you like to do more
fabulous,
TV?
Isn't he?
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, I'd love it.
You should
I
do.
really enjoyed
like
it.
I say, you are made for it.
Yeah.
You're very sort of glam, and because I used to look at you and say, there's no way they'd ever give me a job on TV, because I'm just not right.
You never know. Yeah, you never know. So I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. So who knows? Yeah, who knows? Bit full on with pots at the minute, but
I guess that's the thing. It must be very time consuming and all encompassing, and of course you've got a business to run at the same time, which is tricky.
Yes, exactly. And it was 10 weeks filming, so not every day, but it's a big chunk of the week to step out of the business and go and do something else. But I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to do it. But it's just so lovely working with everybody. The whole crew were just brilliant. I mean, just interesting people, and just to see behind the scenes of something like that, it's just fascinating. It's just really, really good. And to sort of be a diva and have somebody doing your makeup. Somebody choosing what you wore. I mean, it was great.
Oh, really? Did they choose what you wore? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, some things were mine, but there's a few. I mean, you can't have sort of certain patterns or colours, because it just clashes on the TV screen. It doesn't look good on the monitors or the telly. So a few things had to be swapped around. But
did you get to keep them?
No.
That's disappointing, isn't it?
I know. I thought that was going to be a great part. And of course, the other thing was working with Melanie Sykes. She's so lovely, such a lovely, lovely person, and obviously been in the limelight all her life. Since sort of 18, I think.
That must be.
Absolutely, but you forget some of the things that she's done, because she did that Mel, didn't she? The chat show years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, breakfast and telly.
Yes.
Yeah, loads of things. So, but she's just lovely. Very, very lovely person to get to meet, and very genuine. Yeah, and I thought she was great on the show. I think she was brilliant, actually.
Yeah, no, she was.
Yeah.
So I'm dying to know when you're watching it and you've got the sort of the countdown. It's get it in the drying room, and you see all this tension and people flying around, and is it really like that, or is it right? Take 2. Can you all just do that again? We're going to do another countdown.
Yes, I mean, sometimes it is take 2, but you can't get that. You can't capture that moment of panic or realization or excitement. You can't catch that twice, so you have to capture the first time round. So sometimes, I think I was asked to sort of announce the winner and then got it muddled up or something, which is just not the right thing to do.
Sorry, it wasn't you after all.
Like, oh no, you can't do things like that. So obviously.
So how do you take 2 with the person that thought they'd won now crying?
Yes, exactly. Sure, you've got to give them at least half an hour to put their faces back together.
Yeah, I think it's those moments of excitement that you've got to capture that, as it happens. So they're experts at putting all of this together. So the producers will know what to expect, and make sure that you get it right, so that they that they're there and they can cover every angle with cameras, because they know what's going to happen when you announce a winner, or they obviously don't know what's going to happen if somebody drops a pot off of the board, but there are lots of cameras dotted around the pottery setup, the studio, and the cameramen sort of moving around independently as well, so that they can capture all of these exciting times, exciting bits when something goes wrong. Just while something goes
right. Sure, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Just stick a foot out occasionally, trip them up.
Trip over my cable.
That's so fascinating in itself, isn't it? It's the whole production thing. The whole camera, the whole how they make that as a creative. You've got the main subject, which is the pottery, which is fabulous, but then actually making it an interesting program that people are completely into. I think that's fascinating, that whole behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's amazing how it sort of works, because you've got producers talking to the potters throughout the day. They're chatting to them, asking how it's going and if there's any concerns, and then they have to capture some of that on the camera, obviously. But it takes about 10 days to edit one episode. So there's an awful lot of work that goes on. I mean, it takes months and months to actually edit the whole series. So there's an awful lot of what we do, what the potters do, and what they say, and what we've actually sort of practiced and rehearsed, but that doesn't go in. So there's an awful lot that they have to cut out, but it's fascinating stuff. It really is.
And there's a new program started as well, isn't there? A jewellery one that's just started.
Yes, I saw that.
Is that the same crew?
I don't
the same
think
production
so, actually.
team.
I'm not sure. I don't think it is though. But did I see that Alan Carr was presenting that?
He did the Grand Design Masters, didn't he?
Oh yes. Yeah. Who was the other one?
The interior design one.
Isn't it a comedian that's presenting?
Yes, it's a female comedian. Is she Canadian?
American. Is she American? Yeah. Canadian. Yeah.
I can see her face, just can't think of her name.
Yeah, I can't think of her name. She's done that. I always think of her on Have I Got News for You or something like that. Or
it's on. Oh God, blimey. QI and stuff like that, isn't she? Wow,
yes, that's it. Yeah. But that's great, isn't it? Because it's highlighting a craft and a skill that people would love to see that, because I'm sure people have no idea how jewellery is made. So to do all of that, to see behind the scenes and see people making things is great. And there's also the glass one on Netflix, isn't there?
Oh, I don't know.
Have you seen that? What's it called?
I haven't seen that one.
I can't think what it's called now, but there's another competition type show where they make hot glass.
They do glass blowing and stuff.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
I've forgotten what it's called, but it's on Netflix anyway. It's been on. It must be into series 2 at least. And I think there was like a British glass blower on there this time round. So blown away.
Wonderful kind of highlighting these everyday things that we take for granted, whether it is baking or pottery or jewelry making. They're part and parcel of life, and you tend not to think about it. How is this made? Who's come up with the ideas? Well, how on earth did they get it from an idea to reality and on a shelf in a shop where I can go and buy it? It is incredible, and it's wonderful that actually we are still fascinated by it, and it's being highlighted, and will hopefully be encouraging young people to get into those worlds,
isn't it?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there a floristry one?
No, I was just thinking that.
There
was one in America, but it was a bit OTT, wasn't it?
Yeah, it didn't look.
Wasn't our kind of style, was it?
No.
We need one here then, ladies. Come on.
Yes.
Put that forward to the production team.
Well, you've got contacts.
Yeah, well, I'll email them over to you today then.
You've got 3 judges.
Yeah, exactly.
Rich is very good at editing.
I don't want to spend a week editing a show.
Yeah, I think that should be the next best thing. Then at least I might be able to glean some tips from you of how to arrange some flowers in a vase.
Or perhaps we can collaborate and you can produce they can make the bowls first and then they have to put flowers in.
There you go. Lucy, you're on to something.
I'm on it.
Yeah, that's what we need. Pots and florals. Yes, for sure.
Yes.
I would hate to be a contestant on something like that, though. My brain would totally have a meltdown. And I'm in such awe of how these creative people, with the spotlight on them, will come up with ideas and produce something that's beautiful. And you just think, I'd just be going, well, I can't do it. I just can't think of anything.
That's what I'd be like.
Yeah.
It's like when we were talking to Fujiko Rose, isn't it? And she was saying there's a camera right in her face because she was on the Portrait Artist of the Year, Landscape Artist of the Year.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be creative in that situation. I'd just be. I need to be alone.
Yeah.
That was a very good television, Fiona.
Fiona's in a room on her own.
I think it's those spot tests, isn't it? I think it's the spot test that would be really difficult, because I know on Throwdown, and probably the same on Bake Off, they have time, don't they, to make or design or create
stuff,
to plan things. But it's the spot test. I think I'd really struggle with that as well. And you see it, don't you? I'm a big fan of MasterChef, and I really feel for them on there too, when it's like, right, okay, you've got an hour to create 3 dishes. And here's the ingredients, and they've not had time to think about it.
Yeah.
So I just, fall to pieces, I think, under that pressure as well.
I think I'd quite enjoy that in a way more, because you can kind of overthink stuff as well, can't you? And sometimes if your brain's switched off and if you just go into like automatic pilot, that can be when you produce your best stuff. And I think it's different for us. It's not like you're having to work out which ingredients to use to make pastry or whatever. We can just pick a few flowers and usually do something with them. Maybe that's just because we're more familiar with it. I don't know.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I suppose if you're used to being in a kitchen and cooking all the time, then you can create anything. Yeah.
Don't need to worry about poisoning anybody, do we?
No, mostly no.
Well, didn't I hear that you were talking about eating dahlias on one of your podcasts?
Yes.
You can
sugar dahlias. Sugar dahlias, though.
Yeah.
No,
you can eat actual dahlias. You can eat dahlias. Dahlia tubers, they eat them in Mexico, I think.
Do they?
Really?
It's a crop. Yeah, I think so.
Don't tell Gabriella that. She won't be very happy.
So what is sugared dahlias?
Gabby that mentioned it.
No, there are
sugared dahlias.
Yes, I guess this week.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you need to look at her stuff. She makes sugar flowers.
Sugar flowers.
Oh, okay.
Exquisite. Sculptural.
Yeah.
Oh, Sue frozen.
Where is she? Hello, Sue.
Am I smiling?
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay, back in the room.
She makes the most exquisite sugar flowers that you will not be able to, well, you will be able to tell, but it's a bit like ceramics, they just look like real flowers.
Yeah, amazing.
Just beyond unbelievable skill. It's just beautiful.
Oh, I should look that up. Yeah, sounds amazing.
She paints them. She hand paints them all, so they look like mini works of art, don't they?
They are, but you just would struggle to recognise that it wasn't an actual flower. It looks so realistic.
We did ask if anybody ever eats them, and she looked horrified at the thought.
Yeah.
I think they take quite a long time.
We said one ranunculus can take a day, didn't she?
Mm. Yeah.
Which
we sort of thought about a month for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Oh, I'll have to look her up.
Yeah, do, definitely. It's unbelievable.
So are there many flowers then that are edibles? I suppose there must be. You need pansies, can't you? And
violas,
nasturtiums,
primroses.
Quite a few.
There are, and there's also quite a lot you must not eat as well.
Yes.
So you do need to know.
Yes, digitalis.
Yeah, that's not one to be eating.
But I was talking about that recently to somebody, and so I actually said that if I'm stripping a lot of digitalis leaves, which, if you're using a lot, I said you can actually feel a bit of, you feel a bit different. And this person who's quite sort of au fait with this sort of thing said, well, they give it to people to change their heart rhythm. And it's like, you should always wear gloves when you're stripping digitalis, because you can ingest it through your skin. So it's like, okay.
And one of the ones that's even worse is monk's hood.
Monk's head.
It's terrible. And I've just like you say, you work. I don't ever wear gloves. I know I should, but I don't. But that's one of those ones. And then I'm not very good at washing my hands either before. And then you can feel your lips tingling and things. I mean, that does get absorbed through your skin, and people have actually died from it being absorbed through their skin. So, there are some. You do need to know your plants before you eat them.
Yeah, euphorbia is another one, isn't it? Where the sap.
That's got an irritant.
Really, yeah. But also daffodils, and I said I was from Lincolnshire. Obviously, daff growing back in the 80s was massive. Well, until probably the 90s in Lincolnshire was huge, and tulips. But you can get burns on your arms from daffodils. The croppers used to cut the stems, and because they're holding them under their arms, bare arms sort of Maytime, then all the sap sort of stings your arms. You get sort of daffodil rash.
I didn't know that, actually. I knew there
Daff rash. Yeah. You ask anybody from Lincolnshire, they'll tell you. And actually, my dad was a commercial grower. We didn't grow cut flowers then, but when I was a kid, it was all salad crops. And one of the crops, celery, for instance, you get quite severe burns from celery. It comes up in a great rash, and then blisters, and you can get rash from celery. You get celery rash.
Is that why it's one of the allergens? I didn't realise that, because I've often thought, you'll see it's listed or an allergen celery, and I thought, what on earth is wrong with celery? Why do we need to know about celery? But maybe that's it.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but I think it's only from the leaves rather than the sap, actually. Because it's the sap from the daffodils that sting, but it's I think it must be the leaves from the celery. There you go.
You have something crazy like rhubarb, where you can eat the stalk, but the leaf is poisonous,
and the rest is
how does that work?
Yeah,
get that wrong, and you're
doomed.
In a right old pickle.
Doomed. So I think we should. I was just going to ask Sue about her penchant for cold swimming.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. Yes.
I did go last week, actually. Where because I'm sort of in the Midlands, and obviously haven't got access to the sea. But there's quite a few places to go cold water swimming. There's a cove that I go to, which is the next couple of villages along, and it's sort of it's been closed for the last lockdown because it's sort of an organised venue. So the last swim at the end of the year was New Year's Eve, and then it closed the next day. But the water, it was cold, and it's still cold. It was 7 degrees, which is really, really chilly.
So surely you can die in that, Sue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you wear a wetsuit?
Yes, but I still do it.
Some people don't. Some people don't, and actually, there's a bunch of women that go in weekly, at least twice a week, just their costumes, do the usual swim and out they get. But they're building up resilience. They've been doing it for a long time, and they don't feel the cold so much anymore. So the first swim, because the cove opened last week with sort of a lot of outdoor venues. So I went last Tuesday, but last Tuesday the air temperature was about 20 degrees, wasn't it? It was really hot, but the water temperature wasn't. It was about 7. But at least when you get out, the air temperatures was nice and warm, so it was quite nice. But yeah, it's still the same temperature that it was in December. So, but it's getting warmer, so that's good.
Have you been doing that for years, or is this a new thing?
Only a few years, yeah. 2 or 3, 4 maybe, yeah. Only in the last year I've really been going quite regularly. So, but it's really good for you. That cold water. It's supposed to be really, really good. Mental health, obviously physical.
It wouldn't be good for my mental health, I don't think.
Exactly.
Yeah, get in there.
No, it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I don't like being wet.
Don't like the idea of it at all.
It's got to be bath temperature.
It makes me.
And I need to be able to see my feet.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
Wow.
I actually have quite a strong feeling with it. It's a bit. It makes me go a bit like, ooh. I think it's like pushing your feet into the unknown, and
who's going to get
could
you?
be anything down there.
And oh no.
Well, I think there's a couple of places that I swim here. There's probably about 4 or 5 outdoor venues that you can go to. Two of them are like a disused gravel pits, all organised swimming, but they're quite weedy and shallow. Well, actually, 3 of them are like that. The one this cove that I go to is the National Dive Centre, so it has got lots of divers that go in at the same time. So I think it's quite amusing, really, because it's 30 metres deep, which is really, really a little bit scary.
No, that
and
makes
in
me
the
feel.
bottom, there's a 2 or 3 aircraft, there's a helicopter, and a couple of planes. There's buses. These are all things for the divers to explore. You see, so
What,
and
in the bottom?
Yes,
yeah, things underwater.
Yeah, I don't think they're diving in like that.
Yeah, all right, Bridge.
Yeah, not Tom Daly style, no.
I thought they were. I thought that's what you meant. I had this vision of divers.
No,
like scuba divers.
Scuba. Yeah.
No, because when I remember
really.
when I was a child, we used to live in southeast London, and Crystal Palace was our nearest, sports centre. And I remember as a small child, Mum used to take us up, and they had all the swimming and all the diving, all for the, and you could walk along the corridor, and it was the bottom of the swimming pool. So it was like looking into a fishbowl, because they had these big round windows. And you would see, and I hated it. I just hated it. I don't like water very much at all. But you would see these people, these divers come in, right? And it must have been, I don't know how deep they are, but it used to give me the heebie-jeebies. So that's what I immediately thought of when you said these divers.
Diving, well, they'll probably be 5-10 metres deep if it's a diving pool, wouldn't they? Yeah.
Oh, you could
so
see
you
some
don't dive,
sights,
though.
couldn't you?
You could see what?
See some sights.
Yes.
I mean, diving, you can lose your bottom.
No, I think they were quite professional, Bridge. It wouldn't be like us, going in with a baggy swimsuit. I think they were quite,
It's lost all its elasticity, yes.
Exactly. With all the water that bubbles up inside it and makes it go like this. That would be very embarrassing.
We went to Turkey one. We used to go to Turkey quite a lot, actually, and we went one year. I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere Dalaman way, I think it was. And we went to one of these pools that I think it's like one of these mud pools or something that you sit in. And we sat down, my husband and I, and my swimsuit got filled with mud. And it was like this whole thing underneath. Just pile of mud. It was gross. Anyway, there's a lovely image for you to conjure up. It was an all-in-one swimsuit. Cool. This great big sort of like thing hanging down.
It's called a Fiona slipcast.
Oh my goodness!
Thanks for that image, Fee.
How unfortunate.
It was very unfortunate.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, sorry, we've got off on a tangent.
Should
we ask Sue some of our
I think so.
questions?
I think that's, yes.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready for this, Sue? I need to find where did I put them? Here they are. Well, actually, this one appertains somewhat to what we were just talking about. So you may or may not know, but we do these questions, 5 of them. They're quick fire, or you can expand if you wish.
Okay.
So the first one, following on from what we were just talking about, running or swimming?
Running.
Oh, interesting.
So I do both, but I think running, I don't know. Yeah, running, I think. I think I'd run more often than I swim. Yeah.
Because you run quite a long way as well, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I run 3 times a week, and I probably tick over quite easily on 4 or 5 miles every run. I did 10 the other week, but that wasn't pretty.
I can't run to my front gate and make it look pretty. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm quite happy to do like a 10k. But and I'm away. 10k is okay. Do that. So sort of 6 miles. Yeah.
It's nothing really, is
No,
it?
I am feeling really inadequate.
Yes. Feel out of breath just thinking about it.
But I do this breathwork class weekly with a guy called Matt Bagwell. You have to look him up on Instagram. His handle is it's Love to Learn To, but he's a breathwork instructor, but he's also an ultra runner. And he's set this challenge to raise money for CALM, which is Campaign Against Living Miserably, which is to do with suicide prevention. But he's set himself a challenge to raise, I think, 100 grand. But he's doing it on a back-to-back, I think it's like over a month, back-to-back ultras, which are well over a marathon every day, pretty much. So he's running the length of the country. Oh no, going through every county in the country. So you can join him on any of the runs.
Cheer on the sidelines.
Yeah, even that would be helpful. But look him up because he's brilliant. But yeah, I do some breath work with him. But the amount of miles that he runs, he can easily sort of run 30 miles. It's just incredible.
And
absolutely
I guess a lot
incredible.
of that is the key of mastering the breathing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, I think he's only recently become a breathwork instructor, but yes, he teaches nasal breathing so that because you breathe deeper through your nose than you do when you've got your mouth open. So when you're running, you're breathing very shallowly if you've got your mouth open and you're gasping for air. But if you do it in a more controlled way and breathe through your nose, then you take the air deeper into your body, which obviously oxygenates your blood much quicker, and it's just more efficient style of running. So I've been practicing that, but it's not easy. It's something that you have to sort of stick at. But lots of tips there. So go and check Matt out. Yeah.
Well, actually, we on the website we put up links to anything that our guests mentioned.
Yeah, we'll
so we'll put a link.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Good. Right, your next question. Can you dance?
No.
Oh.
I'm rubbish at dancing. No. I do, and I get carried away, and I'm probably like a right idiot. But no, I'm not a natural dancer. I don't think. No,
well,
I don't.
It's okay. You can do the wild swimming and the running.
Yes, I'll run round.
Tea or coffee in one of your lovely mugs?
Tea, always tea. I went off coffee when I had my children. You know, you kind of go through things, don't you, when you're pregnant? And coffee was one of the things that I didn't ever fancy drinking, and I haven't really drank it since. Occasionally I have a coffee, but very rare. And now it's tea, but generally green tea or mint tea. Yeah.
And do you always have it out of a teapot?
Yes.
Yes, same. I have to have my tea out of a teapot.
I've got a big mug here. So I haven't got a teapot because it's got a mint tea bag in it. But yes.
Oh, yeah, if it's a mint tea, then I might do it out of the cup.
Yeah. But
a tea bag just shoved in your cup, just
yeah. But generally, I've got about three different teapots that I have different times of the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Your morning teapot.
Yeah. So this morning I think I had. I've got a green mint tea, which is really nice. So loose leaf, and I've got one of those One Life pots that's got the stainless steel filter in it. So I had that this morning. But I've got a new teapot that I've been designing that's got a filter pierced into the spout, so you don't need to sort of have an extra filter into it. But you can use loose leaf tea on that. So that's a new one that will be coming out. I did a limited run of it a few months ago, but there's another new one that's coming out in about a month's time. So I've been testing that at home with my green teas, and actually all my majority of tea that I get is from are they called I forgot what they're called.
T2.
I've forgotten the tea company, so they have a really nice range of teas that I like, mint teas and
so I
green
use
teas rather.
T2 a lot. T2 is beautiful, and I've got loads of loose leaf tea, and because of that whole problem of like, what do I do with the tea leaves, and it's a bit more of a faff, I'm not really drinking them. So your new teapot might
there you go, you need a teapot. Okay.
As if you need an excuse, Fiona.
That's a good one.
I've just got to have it.
Right, next question.
Yeah.
What's the book you've read most recently, if you indeed read books?
Oh, I I've got about 5 on the go.
Oh my goodness.
So one of them is I can't remember the title. Well, I'll tell you what they're all about. So one, there's a tableware company that I'm working for, Kin Collective. Matt, who runs that, sent me a book on wild swimming. So that's one of them. And then there's another one that's about trees, and I've forgotten who wrote it or what the title is, but just how trees communicate.
Oh, yes, I want to read it. Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
And then there's another one that's about Dalai Lama. So so about him and his beliefs and sayings and things like that. So yeah, lots of books. I never get to the end of them. And there's another one that I've been reading about a year.
Do you sort of read them before you go to sleep, or do you sort of look at them through breakfast, or
in the evening and before I go to sleep? Yeah, so I tend to read a lot in bed. But yeah, I get sort of partially way through. And actually, some of the best books that I have read all the way through, cover to cover, are the Do lecture books. So because they're easy to read, they're quite short. So a couple of really good ones. Mark Shayler's written a couple of really absolute brilliant books about. Well, I think one's called, is it Do Present? I think that's one of his titles, but it's not just about that. It's kind of about yourself and self-belief. But there's another really good one by David Hyatt, who runs Hyatt Denim, about the impact and the strength of emails to your customers. So mail shots. So,
I've not heard of this series. What did you say it was called? Do books.
Do books. So the Do lectures are an event that happen in Wales.
Lucy, you should have done.
I think it's Charlie Gladstone runs it, the Do lectures, I think. So, but they've got a series of books. So I think people that have gone along and delivered a lecture have also written a book. So there must be at least 20 titles, but they're great. They're great books. They're probably 150 pages or something. So just really easy to read, but they're just so well written, and then it's sort of short and punchy, and it's great. And I can remember the titles of those. See the ones.
Yeah, I was quite impressed that you remembered those.
The titles and the authors. That's really impressive.
Yeah. Perhaps I'll remember the current ones soon. Yeah.
We'll put a link to all those in the website.
And actually, if you send us the name of the tree book, we'll put that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yes. Yeah. Who is that? He's written several actually. So I'm reading one on trees. John's reading the same author about water.
Okay.
So, but God knows what his name is because I can't remember. It'll come to me in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Just after we said goodbye.
Exactly. Right, your final.
Tristan Dooley or Gooley or Tristan.
Tristan.
Never mind.
Okay.
Tristan. Yeah.
Tristan.
Gooley or Dooley. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not Gooley.
It might be actually.
Okay.
So
you're Googling them.
We're packing you off to the desert island that they do on Desert Island Discs. What's going to be your luxury?
My luxury. Well, actually, it would have to be a survival book by what's his name? Who's the survival guy?
Bear Grylls.
No, not Bear. The other one.
Steve Backshot. Is it Steve Backshot?
Oh, he was a vet.
Might
be.
Who's
the other guy? My memory's
javelin thrower.
It would have to. Javelin thrower. Oh, what's his name? I should know this because John went on an Arctic trip. Ray Mears.
Oh, yes.
Right. So John went to the Arctic with Ray Mears on a survival trek. They did about 10 days in the Arctic Circle in Swedish Arctic Circle, and they learned how to survive basically at -40, but just by and feeding themselves. So how to sort of capture and kill and prepare animals to eat, and also to forage for vegetation that you can eat, and also to make shelters. Now I'd need his book because I would be absolutely useless making a shelter or I'd probably be all right finding things to eat, but I think I'd need some, Survival Guide by Ray Mears. That would be my luxury and necessity.
That's a very good answer, though.
It's
That is a very good answer.
I like that one.
Off the top of your head as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You kind of expect somebody to say, "Oh, toothbrush," or
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. It's not me saying loose, it is Ghoulie.
It is Tristan Gooley, and he's got The Secret World of Weather and the guides, The Walker's Guide to Outdoor Clues and Signs, How to Read Water.
Yeah, that's what John's reading.
I haven't
How to
found
read
the
water.
trees one though.
What was the last one? Did you say?
How to read water.
Read water.
Oh, that's what you said.
I haven't found the trees yet.
Oh, maybe it's different. No. Yeah,
We'll
there's one
find
about
it.
trees.
We'll find
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We'll definitely put a link up anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we
Interesting
have
read.
loved having you with us, Sue.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it's been great seeing you all.
What
yeah,
are you
thank you so
What are you
much.
up to this afternoon? Are you back in the studio?
Yeah, in the studio. So I've got a very tight schedule with all these restaurant orders. So it's constant planning really, just to make sure we're on track. So yeah, there's plates, kilnfuls of plates going on every day. So yeah, lots to do. Yeah.
We better let you get back to them then.
Yeah, it's been a lovely to chat to you all. Thanks very much.
It's just been
Thank
lovely
you.
to have you with
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you so much for finding the time.
Yeah.
You're welcome anytime.
We'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Restless Creatives podcast. To ensure you don't miss our next episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Restless Creatives podcast. If you'd prefer to listen rather than watch us, you can catch us on one of your favoured podcast providers. For more sneak peeks and behind the scenes fun, visit our Instagram at the.restlesscreatives or visit our website, therestlesscreatives.co.uk.